That's right, Richard. The sheriff's office is telling us Ray was actually kicked out of school yesterday. Now, we know he got into some sort of argument with his mother this morning shortly before he left home, so not sure how all of this ties into that. They, of course, found that other woman, the 49-year-old, in that White House you see right there. It is believed the bullets just came right through her home, hitting her. Family and neighbors have identified her as 49-year-old Bridget Thompson. When we spoke to Regional 1 just a while ago, they tell us she was in non-critical condition. They are still assessing her at this point. Now, the good news, the river's not supposed to crest at Osceola until about Thursday, and even when it does, it still has that major levee to contend with. As two dogs got out of the backyard here, they escaped through this hole in the fence and started running up toward that deputy. This street sign back here shows you where the edge of the highway would normally be. Over here, it's even worse. We've got a flooded church across the highway, a flooded out house. You could just see trees and debris. So much destruction here tonight. Bear with me as I make my way through all of it. And if you guys take a look right now, you can see where that vigil was held. It is just wrapped in crime tape right now. We have multiple detectives walking around searching for evidence. At one point, you even see her grabbing a woman's hair. Can I speak to Amanda? Amanda didn't have a whole lot to say to us a day later when we tried getting her side of the story. All four men pushed him to the ground and ripped the backpack right off his back. Neighbors tell me, quite frankly, that is very common, but they have never seen anything of this scale. 3 streets, 2 potential victims. Police telling us 1 man with gunshot wounds coming into the hospital just about an hour ago. Take a look right up there, guys. Just now we are seeing an MPD helicopter over the area, so I would say this bear probably has not been caught. You can see a makeshift memorial right at the spot where authorities say they discovered Kingston Frazier's body with multiple gunshot wounds inside his mother's stolen car. And in just the last hour, authorities also confirmed to us that one of those 3 teens now charged with his murder, Byron McBride, is the one they believe pulled the trigger in this case. In the meantime, though, family of Kingston Frazier say the last 24 hours have been unbelievably difficult for them, but they are determined that some good could come from this tragedy.
My family has cried and cried and cried.
Surrounded by family members and their attorney, David Archie recalls the smiles his great-nephew, Kingston Frazier, would bring to his entire family.
He never called me Uncle David. He called me Uncle David, Uncle David.
Frazier was found shot multiple times, according to the coroner, who also said the shots were not self-inflicted, dispelling rumors he was playing with a gun. His body was found in his mother's car, abandoned along this country road, hours after he was kidnapped from this Kroger parking lot in Jackson.
We don't want to give any insight about any timeline or any facts at this particular time.
The family's attorney didn't want family members going into details about the events leading up to Kingston Frazier's death, citing an active investigation. They are expressing gratitude for the outpouring of support they've received.
We certainly want to thank you for all of your regards.
Regards we saw firsthand this morning as parents all around Jackson demanded justice for 6-year-old Kingston.
When something to that degree strikes one parent, all parents feel it.
These 3 men sit in jail right now on capital murder charges for Kingston's death. Byron McBride, D'Allen Washington, and DeJuan Wakefield. Yesterday, Wakefield's father insisted his son was innocent.
We live in a wicked world, man. And I just hate that my son got caught up in this.
Archie says he too is worried about the young man he says he's constantly hearing about getting involved in lives of crime. He hopes his son's death can bring some attention to that problem.
It appears that Kingston died to bring an end to all this violence that is going on here in the city.
And coming up tonight at 10, you're going to hear more from Kingston Frazier's family as well as community leaders about what they say can be done to steer more young men in the right direction, all in hopes of avoiding more tragedies like this one. But for now, we're live in Madison County, Mississippi. Luke Jones, WREG, News Channel 3.
All right, thank you, Luke.
Driving down Highway 195 just south of Somerville, you can literally count the mailboxes and cows adorning either side. These new sights,
It tore me up.
are far more disconcerting.
I was there within 2 minutes after it happened.
This exclusive picture shows the aftermath of a grisly wreck last Thursday night. A truck driven by a 60-year-old woman flipped upside down in a ditch after it struck by an SUV.
The ditch is shaped where the cab of the truck just fit in there just like a glove.
But more unsettling than the accident itself,
The girl in the cab was hanging by a seat belt.
the Tennessee Highway Patrol now says the man behind the wheel of the SUV that allegedly caused the accident is none other than Fayette County Sheriff's Deputy Jimmy Fitzgerald, and they say he was driving drunk. Is Jim there? Fitzgerald, out of jail on bond, didn't come to the door when we stopped by his Collierville home. We wanted to ask him about the 6 charges he now faces and the allegation he was on his way to investigate a homicide, lights blazing at the time of the accident. But still, no answer.
If that's the case, he certainly shouldn't have been on the job.
That victim is now out of the hospital recovering. I spoke to her husband today. He tells me they've both been advised not to speak about the accident since it's still being actively investigated. Neighbors just thankful their longtime friend survived. And even if these allegations prove true, they're also sending their thoughts to a Mr. Fitzgerald.
I just praise the Lord she's okay, and he is okay.
In Fayette County, Luke Jones, WREG, News Channel 3. The water is so high in some parts of Mississippi County, we've had to take a boat out to view them. Right now, we're coasting around in the area of Highway 330, parts of which are completely underwater. And I'm told we're still quite a distance from the actual Mississippi River itself. By now, Jared Hopper is used to boating across his fields.
It does come in handy.
At least once a year, water from the Mississippi River tops its banks and invades his 2,000-acre soybean farm near Blyville.
We see it pretty regular.
But this year, the floods came later than usual, drenching his and neighboring farms with water, approaching 9 feet deep in some places, and making crops unplantable.
We're probably 2 to 3 weeks behind on planting.
The rising water's not just a pain for farmers. In low-lying parts of Mississippi County, water washes across county roads, sending wildlife slithering for higher ground.
It's been higher than what I've seen it in a while, but it wouldn't surprise me to see it come on up the road some more.
We found Melvin Warren and his family out trying to make the best of the situation, scouring Highway 120 in search of fish.
You can see them, they'll swim across the road.
2 weeks ago, Hopper says you could drive this very same stretch of road.
The river's 2 miles from where we're standing.
So the river's rising fast. But it's nowhere near approaching the top of this levee, a massive earthwork in place protecting the sprinkling of homesteads that lie beyond.
People that take care of these levees, they do a good job. I mean, you can see they're well maintained, and I'm not concerned a bit about them coming over the levee or levee breaching.
Hopper's only concern right now that these waters recede in time so he can start his planting.
It's gonna affect the sun, but it won't be too bad.
All right, now the good news. The river's not supposed to crest at Osceola until about Thursday, and even when it does, it still has that major levee to contend with, so the risks of flooding as far as homes and businesses are concerned, very minimal at this point. But of course, we'll continue to monitor the situation and bring you the latest. In Mississippi County, Luke Jones, WREG, News Channel 3.
Only on 3 tonight, WREG's Luke Jones is exposing dirty details about the man police say exposed himself. Luke, what have you learned?
Christian, we've learned this man's been accused of the same type of crime going back to at least 2006, and he's actually a registered sex offender. In this latest case, police say he was here just outside the parking lot of Methodist University Hospital, pleasuring himself in front of a female security guard. And if that's not disturbing enough, come right across the street where we have Central High School. It's what you'd expect to see outside a hospital parking lot. People walking back to cars, security on watch. But Monday, one security guard saw way more just before 5 a.m.
It really makes me mad because, I have daughters.
A man in a blue jacket exposing and playing with himself at the corner of Bellevue and Linden. A man police identify as Eric Brock.
He's a normal human being, but he just ain't right in the head.
That's how Brock's longtime stepfather describes him. He says he wasn't aware of Brock's latest arrest until we told him, but he's well acquainted with his record, which goes back at least 10 years. State officials confirm he's on the sex offender registry, and just this summer, they say he was put on probation for violating the sex offender law.
He wasn't always like that. He just had got drugged when he was 18 years old, and his mind just ain't right.
In April 2015, we learned Brock was sentenced to 6 months for indecent exposure and 3 months for not having the proper sex offender ID. He got another 3-month sentence a year earlier for indecent exposure, and in 2008, the Tennessee Department of Correction says he was convicted of indecent exposure once again. In 2006, they say he was convicted of sexual battery.
The system failing.
Brock's stepfather agrees, and he hopes after this arrest, his stepson will finally get the help he says he so clearly needs.
His mom been trying to get him help for a long time. She been trying to put him in the hospital, in the mental institution and stuff like that. But you know, it won't nobody help.
And new tonight, we're learning in this latest arrest, police say he was actually wearing an ankle monitoring bracelet at the time. Now, he's been charged with indecent exposure, violating the sex offender registry. He made his initial court appearance this morning, actually, but he's due back in court next week. We're live in the medical district. Luke Jones, WREG, News Channel 3.